Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bibliophiles. This is the show on AADL TV, where each episode, the three of us take a little time to discuss a book about one topic. This topic that we chose for today is books with ghosts. I am Lucy, and as usual, I'm here with Amanda and Christopher, and I'm excited to see what kind of books with ghosts you guys have. Amanda, what did you pick?
All right, so I did pick a novel that has ghosts in it, but it's not necessarily a spooky, scary sort of book. The book I chose is called Watch Over Me, and it is written by Nina Lepore. She is a teen book author generally, and this book is a teen fiction book. And she actually won the Prince Award for one of her novels, We Are Not Okay. And I've actually read like four or five of her books. Um, the writing, she writes beautifully. The writing, it's simple, it's beautiful, it's quiet, it's sad. If you've if you've read other books by Nina Lepore, this one falls into the same kind of vibes and feeling. This book centers on a young girl named Mila. Mila is 19 years old and she has aged out of the foster care system and she's ready for something new, something change. And the escape is for her to take a job at an old farmhouse in Northern California. And there are a couple of folks who are there as the guardians of the house, and there's a couple of younger folks who are also employed there. And she is there to be one of the teachers, tutors for one of the kids there. And there's a young boy named Lee that she ends up helping. I think he's like 9 or 10. Um, but she's excited for this start, but what she did not expect was for to see ghosts. So she sees these ghosts, and these ghosts start to get in her head, and she ends up they're forcing her in a way to unlock this terrible tragedy, this traumatic past that she has. This is a past that she doesn't want to talk about. It slowly unravels throughout the book, and this is the past where she did something terrible. So throughout the book, you're kind of getting glimpses into what may have happened and why she's there and what's going on. Why were these ghosts here? Who is seeing them? That kind of thing. But really, the book is sort of about this trauma and healing and grief and abandonment and loneliness, and how do you cope with all of that. And here is this young girl trying to do that in this sort of creative way that the writer has chosen to share her story. It's a mellow book. I wouldn't say it's like dark or heavy, but it's not spooky. It's not necessarily scary. It's a little bit, foreboding because at first you don't understand the ghosts or why they're there, but it's not spooky. So if somebody is not into horror, doesn't like, traditional ghost stories that are just like terrifying, that'll keep you up at night, this is sort of it's a gentle, I wouldn't call it a gentle ghost story, but it's a gentle ghosty tale. But you end up uncovering this horrible thing that happened when she was younger. So it's a good read. It's like a nice little glimpse into like one person's reckoning and how they manage it. So if you have read other books by Nina Lepore, this one's not my favorite of the ones I've read by her, but I still keep going back to her books because I know they're going to be like a solid average read, and her writing is just phenomenal. So I was happy to read another book by her, and this one happened to have some ghosts in it. So that is Watch Over Me by Nina Lepore. Christopher, what kind of ghost tale did you bring us today?
Well, actually, I just finished a few hours ago this book by Susan Hill called The Woman in Black. First, before I forget, let me say that this has been adapted many, many times. I think it was even a movie with Daniel Radcliffe, if I'm not mistaken. The book came out in 1983. It so it tells the story of a solicitor. It's set in Victorian England, and this solicitor is tasked with going to a remote village to execute the last will of someone who has just died. He has to attend a funeral, and he has to dig through all the papers found in this lonely old building that is separated from the mainland by a causeway that's only accessible once or twice a day because the tide comes in and cuts this house off from the rest of the village. Startlingly little happens in this entire 160-page book. It is full of introspection, emotions, recollections, fears, but that's not where the strength of the book is. The strength of the book is in that it beautifully re recalls this old style of ghost storytelling. As I said, the book came out in 1983. It feels like a much, much older book in the entire style that it's written. It's all told in first person. The bulk of the story is encased in a story, meaning the author is saying, and now I'm writing out my recollections of the time I spent in this lonely place. So it feels beautifully like an old ghost story. Our local bookstore used to sell a series of Christmas ghost stories, and this would fit right in with that little series. It ends a little bit unexpectedly, which was really nice. I was not very scared. It's full of, you know, lonely rocking chairs that are just going back and forth, locked doors. The fog is everywhere. There are visions. So, lots of these spooky elements always happening, but it ends with a really nice twist that you don't see coming. So I really had fun. It was a fast read and mildly spooky. So I'll take it. And that is The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. Lucy, what did you read?
So I read this behemoth of a book. It's called The Book of Love by Kelly Link, and it's 628 pages. Kelly Link, up until this point, has just been a short story writer. She's really known for being so good at short stories. One of her collections was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. She's won Hugo's and Nebulas. She was a MacArthur Genius. So she can write. I was interested to see what she would do with a long form. Um, and I loved this book. So it is a love story, as the title suggests, but it's also a ghost story. It's a coming of age story. It's a portrayal of a small town. It is packed with so many characters and so many ideas. It's hard to even begin to think about how to talk about it. But it starts with these three teens in this Massachusetts coastal town, this small town called Loveson, Laura, Daniel, and Mo. And they sort of come to life or appear in this music classroom in the school, and they don't know where they've been. They've been dead in this limbo. They can't describe it as more than like this weird, dark, nebulous space. And now they're alive, and they've been brought back by these old world, very old, otherworldly almost people, Annabin and Bocabille. And they have brought them back to carry out a series of tasks. And Laura and Daniel and Mo get to go forth, and there's one other character that's added to it that they don't know. And they have some tasks to complete. They get to go back into their town, and then two of them will get to stay alive, and two of them will be sent into this underworld, this realm of Bogomil. So they don't know where they've been. They don't know what happened to them. They don't know how to complete the tasks ahead of them. And they don't know what their families and friends are going to think about the fact that they're coming back. So one of the people who brought them back has created this story that they were actually in Ireland at a music school for a semester, and they seem to have memories of it. They have photos of it. So that's like the basic premise. But there is this whole, story to get to what is the mystery? How did they die? What brought them back? What is the bigger picture here? What's going on with this town? And Kelly Link takes 628 beautiful pages to get us there. It's amazing. Each chapter is called like the Book of Laura, the Book of Daniel, the Book of Mo. But we get other characters. We get one of the characters' grandmothers. We get inanimate objects. We get statues. This is Kelly Link, so characters turn into animals. Characters, disappear and come back, there are different storylines that are kind of like parallel but intersecting at the same time. And then each one of these chapters, many of them could really be pulled out as their own short story. So it is a ghost story in that Laura and Daniel and Mo are dead, essentially, but they're back in the world. And then they are each assigned a sort of other person in their life. They don't know who it is, who's not really alive either. That's just attached to them by a thread, but they don't know who that is. Could be your sibling, could be anyone. So there are these ghosts milling throughout. And the thing is, each chapter is told by the point of view of somebody, but you're also getting all these other stories about all these other people and the town and the history of the town. And it's funny and it's sad and it's beautiful. And she's such a good writer. She's such a beautiful writer that I feel like I spent so long with these characters in this town. I was so sad when it was over. But I also feel like you could ask me, you could present me with a hypothetical situation, and I could tell you how one of the characters would react in that situation. I mean, that's how much this got in my brain. So I'm not going to tell you anything about how they died or if they get to stay alive or are they alive. It's all part of the magic that is Kelly Link. So if you like Kelly Link's short stories, you're going to love this. But in general, it's just, I've not read anything like it. And I loved it so much. So that is my ghost story. That is called The Book of Love by Kelly Link. Does anyone else have anything to add about ghost stories? Okay, well, that is our show then. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to next time when we will tell you about some more books.